Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. It is Wednesday, the 13th of May. Welcome to Pep Talks in the Morning. I am Felicia Holder, your host for the show and the chairman of the Progressive Empowerment Party. Joining me this morning is one of my favorite co-hosts on the show, Mr. Anthony Defour, Deputy Political Leader of the Progressive Empowerment Party. Good morning, Anthony.
Good morning, Felicia. Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. Good morning, Peppers, and all around the world, the viewers that's taking in the show today. Everything.
Indeed, and as he mentioned, all around the world, I'm telling you from upfront, we are going to have a call-in segment for the last 15 minutes of this program with one of our members from the PEP Toronto chapter. As you know, we try to bring in people who support the PP, not just here locally, but abroad. We have a wide group of supporters abroad, people who would have left Trinidad and Tobago, people whose navel strings are buried here in Trinidad and Tobago, who miss their country but want to return to a country that works, that has some semblance of normalcy, the normalcy that they have grown accustomed to, whether they're living in Canada or the United States or England, even Germany. We have people as far as Italy and Australia. So many Trinbagonians who have left this country for whatever reason, most to make a better life, to escape what we know as every day becoming a hellhole republic, but do still have a deep love for their country and would like to return. Those such people have gotten involved in the Progressive Empowerment Party, and I'm very excited to bring that member on a little bit later in the program. I do want to, this is unconventional because we usually wait until after the first break, but because yesterday was so exciting, we forgot to recognize all of the birthdays. And yesterday was Ibrahim Kadir's birthday. Ibrahim is part of the Central Hub, a very important member, crucial member of the Progressive Empowerment Party. And Ibrahim, I'm so sorry we forgot your birthday. I know that you watched the show, so I'm wishing you at the beginning of our program happy belated birthday, and I hope you had a truly wonderful one. So, Mr. Defour, we spent the beginning of this program trying to figure out what is really the breaking news story because so many things seem to be happening all at once. And it's crazy because normally they would save all of the breaking news for over the weekend, hoping that it gets lost in all of the distraction. But story after story seems to be breaking. And while we do have the topic of the spend so far for COVID-19, 934 million, almost $1 billion spend, while that is a top breaking news story in the night, in the still of the night, another story came from, I wouldn't say the back because it was right there with this COVID-19 spend story, came out of nowhere and eclipsed what would have been the main discussion for this morning. And unless you're living under a rock, you would know that Trinidad and Tobago is currently being investigated for not only having the vice president of Venezuela, Miss Delcy Rodriguez, my Spanish, Rodriguez, my Spanish teacher probably said, gosh, Felicia, no, please don't even try. Let's call her Delcy. Miss Delcy, coming here to Trinidad and Tobago, despite the fact that she has U.S. sanctions imposed on her, and then further being investigated for shipping oil to Aruba, which we heard ended up in Venezuela. Now, this is a top breaking news story because as of last night, more information has unfolded with regards to the U.S. Um, the U.S. Treasury has since released a statement saying that Trinidad and Tobago has broken the Rio Treaty, which was established 73 years ago. And this Rio Treaty basically is supposed to provide mutual defense support should there be a threat in the Western Hemisphere. There are 19 signatory countries to the Rio Treaty, Trinidad and Tobago being one of them, along with countries like Cuba and Uruguay. They had a vote back in September to impose sanctions on the Maduro regime, a vote of which 16 of those 19 people voted yes for the um, imposing sanctions. Three of those countries did not vote, Trinidad and Tobago being one. Hint, hint, hint. We abstained from the vote, as well as Cuba, which was not present for the vote. Cuba, as we know, has mutually beneficial relationships with Venezuela, and Uruguay, which voted against imposing sanctions. So that was an absolute mouthful. And before we even jump into that discussion, please hit share, like, share it on all your pages, in your groups, join, let everybody join in on the discussion this morning. Anthony, this is the breaking news story this morning. The US has finally responded and they have confirmed that we indeed have broken treaty agreements that have been established since 73 years ago. What are your thoughts on everything that is unfolding right now?
Well, again, good morning, Trinidad and Tobago, and all the viewers. It is of great concern that we or I should say, we have found ourselves in such a position, having to be under such scrutiny from our largest trading partner, the country that we have signed treaties across board, uh, should be considered one of our closest, if not our closest partner, um, diplomatically. Trinidad and Tobago, I can't understand how our prime minister can see greater need to have negotiations and sitting down having talks, allowing a foreign government into the shores of Trinidad and Tobago in the midst of a COVID-19 pandemic, mind you, where we are supposed to scrutinize everything. Just a couple of days ago, I saw Mr. Hines posting on social media that no one knew that there was a flight coming in, or who was on the manifesto of that flight, and all of this, MPs and air traffic control and the whole 9 yards. The question is if this is our frontline defense, how is it that they didn't know, number one? So, I mean, that gives me the impression that this is something that definitely was supposed to be taking place behind closed doors under the table. Secondly, you have our own government here talking about that they initially came here for talks pertaining towards the COVID-19 and how to treat with it, only to hear from the opposition of the Venezuelan government indicating that they had information stating that they were coming here initially for talks where energy is concerned and possible trade, which so said, so done. You said it a little while ago. We had a shipment sent to Aruba, which ended up in Venezuela. For our leaders not to be aware of the diplomatic environment within our region and whether Venezuela is the closest neighbor of ours or not. The point of the matter is as a leader, you are supposed to have all the information which is necessary. You're supposed to also have talks within your partnership, within the region, depending on what the motions might be. Because I would say, if I am a prime minister in this environment, and I am seeing that Venezuela has just been slapped with sanctions, and Venezuela needs to have talks, or has requested to have talks with us. I mean, it is only fair for us to give indication of this to the American embassy, or someone within that leadership structure where the Americans are concerned, indicating what the moves are. Because again, we need to provide a level of respect to our partners, as well as having a level of transparency where our motions and moves are concerned. Now, for Mr. Rowley to feel to himself that it was so paramount to allow, in secrecy no less, the Venezuelan vice president and her delegates and other peers I heard that who was it? Former president of the oil company in Venezuela was one of the people also on that plane, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, at the end of the day, they knew
Oh,
exactly
now
what the
president.
agenda was. They know what the agenda was. They knew. And again, was it worth it? Was it worth the shipment that we had forced upon our own selves in sending over to Venezuela, knowing the environment that they were dealing with? Um, human rights atrocities. We have the information. It's not to say we don't have the information as to what is going on the ground in Venezuela. We ourselves here, as the government of Trinidad and Tobago, has allowed how many thousands of Venezuelans into the country due to their migration because of the situation on the ground in Venezuela. So again, we cannot be ignorant to think that our government did not know the environment that they were operating in. And for us to now be scrutinized by our biggest partner, possibly having sanctions placed on us, um, now trying to come out of this COVID-19 situation. I mean, we already dealing with a economic problem on the ground here in Trinidad. This was even before the COVID-19. Now, where the COVID-19 is concerned, that has brought even more strain onto the system. Now that we have the Americans looking to possibly slap us with sanctions of some, which most likely will be within our trade between the US and Trinidad and Tobago, and possibly other countries as well. I mean, we don't know how far and how critical this is going to be and how much of a hit that Trinidad is going to take because of this action. Now, again, we keep asking ourselves, our leaders, why are they not being proactive? Why are they not gathering all the information and picking sense from the nonsense before they make certain motions or moves where the country is concerned? And I must keep reminding Trinidad and Tobago, remember, those 41 seats in that parliament are people who are representing you, the citizen. They are working for you, the citizen. So up to this day, as a citizen, I have not seen any of my MPs or anyone within government indicating to me that this is a motion that they were planning to make with all the information that is in front of us and the environment that we are dealing with, and for me to turn around and say, yes, okay, go right ahead. Invite the vice president.
But I'm saying that
No problem.
let's not pretend that they disseminate any information to us. Let's not pretend that there's ever a referendum. Let's not pretend that our issues are ever translated to Parliament. Be it an issue of bringing people who have sanctions imposed on them, or be it an issue of legalizing or decriminalizing marijuana. Let us not pretend that the public is truly consulted on matters like these. But back to this issue, I'm reading here. The U.S. government is aware, and this is a statement from the U.S. Treasury. The U.S. government is aware of reports indicating a shipment of gasoline from Trinidad and Tobago may have gone to Venezuela, the embassy said. In general, entities and individuals risk exposure to U.S. sanctions by operating in the Venezuelan oil sector or materially assisting, sponsoring, or providing financial, material, or technological support for, or goods or service to, or in support of PDVSA, which is the state-owned energy sector company in Venezuela, or other persons designated or identified under relevant sanction authorities, the U.S. Embassy said. This remains true regardless of how the transactions with Venezuela are conducted, whether using currency or in-kind exchanges, and without respect to whether such conduct is otherwise legal under another country's law, the embassy said. It also said that they were aware that some companies engaged in the Venezuelan oil trade attempt to disguise the true nature of their business. It's almost as if they're saying, Trinidad, we see you. We see you from a mile away, shipping gas
That's
to
exactly what they're
Aruba
saying.
to finally end up in Venezuela. We see you. And we come in for you. And I'm saying this because when it was, I don't want to say first raised by the opposition, The opposition jumped. They were one of the people on the bandwagon asking the question, why was Miss Rodriguez here? God, I need to stop saying her name. Why was Delcy here? We'll stick to Delcy. Why was the vice president of Venezuela here? And it was a question that kept coming up. The media ignored it for the first couple weeks. But then many people began asking the question, particularly on social media. And you have to point out the power of social media. It's a unforgiving place, and it doesn't let things like this die very easily. And the question kept being raised because this was a woman who we all know had sanctions imposed on her. She's the vice president of a man who a bounty was just put on his head for bringing him in for narcotic crimes, of which he was, I guess, convicted. And we brought her here. But you said earlier, Anthony, and this to me was the biggest hole in what seemed to be a whole web of deceit. You're saying, on one hand, that you had no idea who came on that second plane. You had no idea that these were officials and board executives from a major energy company. However, you had no idea, but you brought them here to talk COVID-19. I have never seen a energy official. I've never heard of Franklin Khan talking COVID-19. When we're talking COVID-19, we have the CMO and we have Terence Dialting and we have other subject matter experts in the field of health and dealing with pandemics and epidemics. So you brought an entire plane, and then saying that you did not know who was in the plane is another red flag itself. Our Minister of National Security, you're telling me that he allowed a plane full of people that he had no idea who was on that plane. So it's so easy to bring to bring terrorists into our country. And I'm not calling them terrorists. I'm saying that it can't be that easy for somebody to fly into this country and meet with our highest office holder, the Prime Minister, and his Minister of National Security, not know who he was meeting with. That incident reminded me. I don't know if you saw. Was it yesterday, 2 days ago, Monday? The guy who stole the bus in PTSD and drove it out of the country to prove that he can steal a bus. Is it that easy to hijack our government and parliament? You can just jump on a plane, fly in, meet with the prime minister, and not have to declare who you are, what are your interests. So they came to discuss oil, not oil. They came to discuss COVID-19 and immigration. Where were their health officials? Where was our health officials in that meeting?
Very, very true. Great point. Great point. And again, everything that is posed in front of us shows that it truly was not, it had nothing to do with COVID-19. It had everything to do with an energy transfer from Trinidad to Venezuela. Full stop. That's just where it was. And at the end of the day, again, you cannot say that you did not know who was coming into the country, especially under the environment that we were operating under. That is total madness. And if that is what they want to have as a narrative from government, it just simply proves once again the incompetence of the administration that we have leading us at this point in time. Bottom line. Because again, Trinidad and Tobago, keep in mind, these 41 people in parliament, they are supposed to be working for you. They are supposed to be being accountable to you, being transparent to you, giving you factual information because you are their boss. They are the employee. To us, the people, we put them there. Nobody, I keep saying, just simply putting on a bloody suit and just walking in the damn parliament. The majority of the people on the ground, in whatever way, form, or fashion, they were influenced in voting for that administration. The point is, the majority of people did, and it is a matter of them serving the people. And I would even put this other point in place, which we've been having this discussion for the past couple of days on social media. You hearing a lot of these sycophants and all these people talking, and even MPs, oh, this one and that one, and it's the PNM this and the PNM that, or the UNC this and the UNC that. Keep in mind, people, politics is a thing which is during election time. whoever gets into that office, the point is you are now government. You are not represented under your political flag as the PNM or the UNC or the PEP or anybody. The point is you are now the government of Trinidad and Tobago, and what you represent is red, white, and black. And every citizen that is on the ground in Trinidad and Tobago, bottom line. So your whole agenda being in that parliament is to seek the better interest of the entire bloody country as a whole. Forget who vote who and who ain't vote who and who do what. The point is you are a Trinidad and Tobagonian with a national ID saying that you born on the ground here. The point is the responsibility of government is to answer to you, the people, to seek the interest for you, the people. And the motions being taken right now by government is not seeking the interest of the people. In fact, we are speaking right now of possible sanctions being imposed on Trinidad and Tobago and its economy. And we are in no way, form, or fashion being able to deal with a situation like that, because that in itself will ensure Trinidad and Tobago crash and burn and the entire population suffer in a major, major way. So when you're talking about government, government is to be there for the people, full stop. And at this point in time, they are not. There's too many holes in the story. Nothing is adding up. And it's all a facade and a show. You can see it in the conferences that they have for the public. They are stuttering. They are not speaking seamlessly. They are not giving direct
I
information
have
towards the issue.
Listen, I have never seen Keith Rowley stutter as much as he had to when he was explaining what really happened. And I think one of the worst things as a leader of a country, one of the worst things to hear that you can tell the people under you, the people who have entrusted their economic livelihood, who have entrusted their well-being to you, because that's what we did when we elected this man as the overall leader of this country. I think one of the worst things that you can say is, I did not know. That is, I remember Philip at one point told me that that as a leader, saying that you did not know, it may be the truth, but it's not an
Failure.
excuse. As a leader, it is always your responsibility to know. And you know what? If you did not know, you have to then accept responsibility for the fact that you did not know. I drive in when you get caught going up a one-way street and the police stop you. There's no excuse as you did not know. You are supposed to know. You are supposed to familiarize yourself with the laws, with the signs, the traffic stops. Similarly, as the prime minister of the country, you're supposed to know. I mean, come on. I don't have to explain diplomatic relations and foreign policy to the prime minister of the country. And that he would use such an excuse is unacceptable for me, because again, you know what? Let us assume that you did not know. Again, even if you did not know, you had a responsibility to know. And for the people who are saying that it is that we want the sanctions and the opposition wants the sanctions. It's not that. It's that if you're saying that you're doing you want to go against the treaty that you signed, you want to go against sanctions and still do business with Venezuela, do it proudly and boldly. Why the subterfuge? Why going through Aruba to then send to Venezuela? Why all these hidden and secrecy behind everything that is happening? And if the US does impose sanctions on us, is it because the whistle was blown, or is it because we actually broke the treaty that we had signed and agreed with the United States and the other 18 member states, 17 member states? Is that the case? Or is it, again, is it because the whistle was blown? And Trinbagonians, we need to stop focusing on the absolute nonsense that we want to focus on. The possibility of sanctions being imposed on Trinidad and Tobago, and for those who don't understand, you see all of that nice cable TV that you enjoy, irks, gone. You see all those nice little different varieties of cornflakes that you see when you walk into the supermarket, gone. These and for many people, they wouldn't understand all the Nikes and the brand sneakers and the Gucci
Yeah.
bags and the Michael Kors,
The online shopping and
gone.
all of that.
Unless you wanna buy from China and get the Chinese bootleg version of
Of
it,
course.
it's gone. Exactly, get the knockoff version of it. And this is what many people not understanding when you say that maybe that with sanctions is not translating into what is going to tangibly affect the pockets as well as affect the consumer goods that you would purchase as a citizen of Trinidad and Tobago. And of course, none of us want sanctions to be imposed on us, but none of us want a government that lies to us and uses subterfuge to go around rules that they themselves would have agreed to. I mean, again, I should not have to explain foreign policy and diplomatic relations to the government that I put into office. And the fact that we are now in this situation being investigated, it is a damn shame that it took so long to be honest, for me is very interesting. But things seem to be playing out and unfolding in a way that does not look very positive for Trinidad and Tobago. The fact that we even were doing business with Venezuela to begin with, that we do business with countries like Ghana, going Ghana for yam, a country that is rampant with corruption in terms of the government literally stifling the rights of the people. Go and study Ghana, go and study the countries that we as a nation likes to do business with. Go and study China. That China that we claim and hail as almighty. Go study China and what it is like to be a citizen of the Republic of China. And you would see that we have business associations and business interests with countries that the rest of the world may either opt to not do business with or to have as little relations with as possible. But these are the people that we seem to want to be cozying up under. And it tells a story when, in particular, our government seems so very hell bent on slowly but very steadily eradicating the rights that we have as citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. Out of that question, today's out of that topic today, though, we do have the second poll question of the day. Yesterday, we introduced polls as part of this show, and it is a way to engage you, the viewing audience, those who are not very, those who don't like to call in, you're very shy, or you like to talk on each other. This is your opportunity to be a part of the discussion because we will read and call out the results at the end of the program. So that poll question of the day is, do you believe the Venezuelan delegation came to discuss COVID-19? As the Prime Minister said, that's what they came to discuss. And we are asking you, the public, if you believe that the Venezuelan delegation, all of those chief executives of the PDSV PDSVA came to discuss um, COVID-19. Yes or no? We will tabulate your answers at the end of the program. Anthony, anything left for you to say on this particular topic?
Well, really, again, it's just the government showing blatantly that they are doing whatever they want to do and think to themselves that there's no repercussions that's attached to it. I think that Trinidad and Tobago is about to learn a very, very valuable lesson where our leadership is concerned. Um, and again, I am not wishing for us to have any sanctions whatsoever or to have anything as a negative effect where the US and Trinidad and Tobago's relationship is concerned. But really and truly, we have not positioned ourselves in a good place at this point. And America is not a place that is not a country that you really you play the fool with. Simply because they, in a heartbeat, will slap you with sanctions or turn your entire country upside down. I mean, they are the economic power of the world. We're not just talking about in our own hemisphere. We are talking globally. It's the economy driver of the world. Is America? They consume the most in the world. You know what I mean? And again, our currency is pegged against the US dollar. It's our largest trading partner. Why is it did our leaders not take serious consideration towards that and be aware of the treaties that we have signed with the US and accordance of those treaties, what and how we are supposed to operate in an environment such as this uh, um, with our partners? And again, if we had insisted on having talks with Venezuela, knowing America has placed sanctions on Venezuela, and America is also our largest trading partner, it was only common sense to bring indication as to what the movements of our government was towards our neighbor Venezuela, because again they do still have a government with they are still our neighbors. And yes, I see no reason why we could not have talks. The prime minister said on another conference, look at, we have technology, we could get information and communicate and have conferences via the internet, man. So if that was the case, why wasn't it that simple for the delegation from Venezuela and our own government have that said type of talks there? Why was it so necessary for them to come on a plane in the midst of the night, no one knowing they're even touching down on the ground and who is on that manifesto of the plane, and everybody having a little meeting hush hush behind closed doors and misdirecting the whole damn population? I mean, it says all. We have everything right in front of us, and people on the ground still want to play stupid. And I don't understand why. We have it in right in front of us. The government is showing their level of incompetence and how they are trying to hide certain things from the population and misdirect the population. Is that simple. And we cannot be ignorant and blind to the fact anymore. The government of the day is not seeking the interests of the people and the nation as a whole. Full stop. I would leave it there.
Indeed. And the question of the day, the poll question should be up. Please don't forget to vote. We want to hear from you. We want your feedback. I have an idea. I think I have an idea of what the outcome of those results will be, but I would still leave it up to you people to tell us and help us guide the discussion. So, moving on to the next topic of the day, the next breaking story of the day. Colm Imbit, our Minister of Finance, he has resurrected since telling us that he's going to, or he's proposing a $10 billion withdrawal from the Heritage and Stabilization Fund to give us an accounting of the money spent so far for COVID-19. And if listen, for those who are not aware and for those who are aware, let me shock you once again. We have spent $934 million in the past 8 weeks on our COVID-19 response, a projected 1/6 of the total projected spend for the entire duration, or the entire, well, let's use the word duration, the lifespan of our COVID-19 response. We're supposed to spend $6 billion. We have spent 934 million, almost $1 billion so far. And
On
this
what?
almost this is again, this was almost the question for the day. Actually, I did not ask it because TV6 asked this question last night. I did not stick around for the results, but I have to go back and hear how people voted, because the TV6 meter question of last night was, are you satisfied with the government's spending on COVID-19 so far? But just like Anthony said, I would have asked for another answer because the answers were either yes or no. My answer would have been on what? Because again, what? Where, what, who, how, why was $934 million spent so far? I am absolutely perplexed right now as to that. They gave a breakdown of it, and even that breakdown doesn't make sense. Let's deal from the bottom up. $387 million for approximately close to $0.4 billion spent on the health sector for COVID-19. I
How many people we had sick? How many people?
a hundred
We did
a hundred
we did
and
test a good 1,000 people. Are you telling me that cost so much? And we have started to test the population yet? Really? Oh gosh, man. JACKASS. That's what on my forehead. Had to be. Had to be.
Listen, my guy, listen, I am thinking we have been calling for an increased number of tests since the beginning. Now I am fearful. If we were supposed to increase testing, where would that lead us? We have approximately 2,400 people tested so far. Oh, well, sorry, 2,400 tests administered so far. What was supposed to happen if we tested 10,000 people or 20,000 people? What would that bill for COVID-19 amount to? Because as of right now, yes,
Felicia, understand this. Our health system, which was already paid for via our budget, dealing with the COVID-19, we did not have no excessive number to say that it went beyond the actual capacity of our health system as it stands right now. Where did the money go? Because it didn't go within no helping of no COVID-19, nothing. Nothing. You cannot say you spend that kind of money in the healthcare system to get what? Mask? We spend our money on masks? Really? Because we have no kind of vaccine here. We have no kind of infrastructure or people specifically purpose built or placed in operation here, because they're talking about the Cuba Hospital. The Cuba Hospital was there sitting down for almost 4 years, empty, doing nothing. And it's still not open to the public fully up to this day. They're using it as what? A quarantine area? But really, think about what is being said right now, Trinidad and Tobago. There's nothing on the ground to actually justify that spend where they are talking about within the health sector. Bring the damn receipts. Let me see it. I want to see that. I want to know what it is that was purchased with that money, item by item, amount for amount, to come up with that figure. Don't come and just throw them numbers out there and talk about, oh, this is the listing of what it is that was spent for healthcare in Trinidad and Tobago. And I supposed to put that in my pipe and smoke it. Sorry. Detailed information. Give me that. Give me that. How much you pay per mask? How much you pay per syringe? How much you pay per bed or whatever the case is? Let me know them numbers for fact. And let me go and do the research to find out if that is the actual price as to what is being offered out there in the world for those products. And let me come back to you and say, all right, well, I go hush my mouth now because the numbers add up. But as it stands, the numbers do not add up, Trinidad and Tobago. I'm sorry. I am sorry. We need a proper account to that.
well, Anthony, doing that math, spending, and this is just for the health um, section of the health portion of that $934 million. Um, we would have approximately spent, based on these figures that we're being told, $3,336,206 per patient in the past 2 months. So each of our 116 COVID-19 patients cost us approximately $3.4 million. I that has to be probably
BS.
that. You know what? When they say that that maybe this was their way of giving back in terms of the money that was spent on Maxi Coffee. Maybe this was their turn to say we're gonna spend equal or double that for the citizens of the Republic. And you'll say we don't care about you. Look how much money we put out on you. And I mean, if you had to ask me where that money went, just the renting of the Brooklyn facility, which I believe was over $100,000 a month, which is absolutely ridiculous for that roach
Insane.
infested place. I have to believe that the money that we're spending on COVID-19, I have to question if it is really going into the right places. I mean, it almost seems like a rhetorical question, but it is astronomical to imagine that we have attributed $387 million so far to the health portion of COVID-19. Moving on to the social relief grant aspect, $400 million has been spent in social relief, and this is not accounting for the salary relief, which is another spend of $490 million allocated, where only 2,991 people have received grants so far. Meaning that of that 2,991 people, we have barely crossed even a fraction of this $490 million set aside for salary relief grants. But that 400 million for social relief grants, so that amongst all of the hampers that are supposed to be given out, and amongst the food cards, and again, I'm sorry this wasn't the other question for the day, but where where is the evidence of that happening at the moment, Auntie? Where is the evidence of $400
Felicia,
million,
Felicia, listener, man,
almost half
we
a
have.
billion dollars?
Girl, it is insanity because look, we only have 30,000 plus people that even apply for any grants. How many grants we've had distributed thus far? Just over 1,000?
2,991.
2,909. Almost 3,000 grants out of 30,000 applications. That is just under 10% of people who have applied over 3 4 weeks ago. So
More than
again,
that.
it is, listen, nothing is adding up, and there is nothing that the government have done, because I'm still waiting to see how many business owners have had any type of monies distributed to them to allow their businesses to float. Look, just yesterday you had a show which I had to clean because my blood was so damn hot, having to listen to a tenant in City Mall having to worry about being evicted because they are still being asked for rent, where we already said you can't send everybody home and close your business, and you are telling the people that that is the mandate of the country, that's what you had to do, and have nothing in place to pacify any type of billing or costs for anything whatsoever. We've said freeze the country, but anyway, we ain't want to veer too far off. But the point of the matter is that they cannot account for fact those numbers that they are calling. And again, I call upon Mr. Imbert, please bring a detailed report into the public so your employers, which is the people of Trinidad and Tobago, can see exactly where our money is in our name is being spent in detail. So let me know exactly how much money out of that figure that you was calling that was pacified towards businesses, pacified towards citizens not being able to work. Let us know those factual figures. And if you can even provide name and numbers, I will even be more than happy with that too, because I want to call some of these people that you're talking about that collect grant and get relief to ensure and confirm for fact that these people actually collect a grant or some kind of relief. Because I can give you a list right now, Mr. Imbert. I can give you a list right now, Mr. Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, from the Progressive Empowerment Party, of a list this thick with names of citizens that still to this day have not gotten any kind of relief whatsoever. And the relief that they have gotten is from regular citizens on the ground. And in fact, you know what I should do? I should give this boy Inchan a call and find out, because he is a man on the ground as an NGO, as a citizen trying to help people as well, that has spent a large sum of money in order to do hampers and stuff. But I figure I want to get an actual number as to what it is the man spend. You know why? Because I want to compare it as to what it is government say is spending. Because for fact, government have not given out the amount of hampers that the regular citizens on the ground has done to date in helping their brothers and sisters in Trinidad and Tobago. Again, a job that was carded, and the state is supposed to be the one doing to begin with. Then you could have been able to say that yes, you could justify talking them numbers. But guess what? Right up on North Coast Road, right here in Santa Cruz, right in Central, deep in South, all up Maruga and Mayaro, it have people that still ain't get any help from the state directly. I have a woman called me just yesterday talking about she house burned down. She went to the local level government, she can't get help. She went to central government, still can't get help. The woman had to have a neighbor break down a shed in the side of the house to get the wood and galvanize to come and put something up for the woman, for she and she children to have at least a little roof over she head, and she still had to wonder where she getting food and so on. So you telling me the state working, the social system in this country working, the information and all of the arms of state is working in order to get the numbers and having the census and knowing who have from who don't have, because obviously it's not working because the people who need to have don't have, they still ain't getting no help, they still ain't being recognized or even know that they even exist. It's regular people on the ground that is the ones that's helping our citizens right now, right? So the little show that they want to put on, oh, they're going in a little community and they had a little truck and woo, they're giving out a little bag and this and that and the other. Look at where the areas these MPs and government in itself is talking about they're giving relief. Eh? So look at where it is. P&M stronghold, and we said earlier in the show, you should not at this point in time as a entity in government put anything pertaining towards your political party or showing any type of paraphernalia where that is concerned, because you are the government of Trinidad and Tobago. Your
Exactly.
whole show is red, white, and black. That is what you represent now being in government. That is it. You can't talk about PNM and having big PNM posts up on bag and say you giving out and woo, look at hamper, man. Really? Whoa, so wait, is all you using taxpayers' money to pull your PNM stamp to give people to go into the mine again? That's a part of the propaganda campaign. Is that how it works? Because obviously it's what's been done to date. And we still can't get accountability, we still can't get transparency, and nobody wants to be responsible for the portfolio. So who it is, why does I hire all it to go inside that parliament there to do for me? To make sure that I could be in a better place, to make sure I have hope and opportunity as a citizen of Trinidad and Tobago. What's the whole purpose of you being there? Because up to this date, I still asking Mr. Imbert. I can't remember on the campaign trail in 2015. All you're talking about, you want to raise gas 3 and 4 times. I buy a vehicle specifically for diesel, which was $1 and something cents, and I was very happy not only to know, but only to know 3-4 months later, my boy Imbert jump in the parliament talking about you raising gas. He raised it 2 times, 3 times, and he find himself in the Chamber of Commerce with his comrades and laughing, ha ha ha, he. I raise the gas on them 3 times and nobody here riot yet. So it looked like in the next 6 months I might raise it again and laugh at that. And we supposed to be okay. And this man still sit down in that parliament, normal. Boy, all you mad in this place, boy. All you mad in this place not to realize these people not seeking your interests as the citizens, not seeking your interests as employees to you, the people, to make sure you have betterment. Anyway.
Anthony, I gave you free reign to run this morning because, like I told you last night, this story is absolutely unbelievable, and it gets more interesting. He actually pointed out the fact that this. Before I go into that, I want to do the breakdown of this math on this $490 million in salary relief. We say that we're offering that relief for up to 3 months, $1,500. We have since disbursed 2,991 of those salary relief grants. That's the first $1,500 payment, which means that the people who applied for this grant are entitled to a further 2 months of $1,500 each, a total of $4,500 for the 3 months that they would have received. This means that if we're giving everybody up to 3 months, $4,500 total, I am waiting to hear at the end of this and the accounting, because while I might not be able to do math off the top of my head that well, I'm still the head of finance and I still sit down at the end of the day and I crunch my numbers and I make sure my I's are dotted and my T's are crossed. And that amounts to 108,000 people are supposed to have received, based on this projected $490 million, almost $500 million. 108,000 people, and I'm waiting to see that 108,000 people receive their salary grants for 3 months at $1,500 a month. And anything short of that by $1, I will be like that chihuahua that bites into you and doesn't want to let go, because we don't have short memories here in the Progressive Empowerment Party. Best believe every figure, every dollar, we will come back and calculate it, because if the public is not paying attention to the public first, no problem. We will pay attention to it for you. But I was going on to say the story gets worse. The 387 million that is allocated or he hasn't said if it's being spent. I'm going to assume it's allocated because he said that that cost may increase, and this is for the health response to COVID-19. It may increase for things like bringing these university students from Barbados back home. We have just about 68 students, and I know this because they actually made a plea on Sunday night for the government to bring them back home. The stipend that they were given, it's all but finished. They are clearly unhappy. They want to come home, be reunited with their families. But he's talking about the fact that that expense, that $387 million may actually go up if we have to account for bringing them home and having to put them in quarantine. I have no idea how that could change the figures so astronomically, seeing as we already have the quarantine facilities, seeing as we're already paying the rent on the facilities, whether there are two people housing it or 50. I don't know if they're eating off of gold plates or silver spoons, or if they're drinking Chardonnay every night to toast to their 14-day quarantine. I don't know, but it just points to more spending that we again will not know exactly where it is going, what it is being spent on, until maybe too late, until we get the figures. And Anthony, what more you have to say on this?
Again,
Because I am.
again, you just said it that we have the facilities and infrastructure and systems already in place and paid for. If the facility right now holding two people, you're bringing 50 more. The point is that all of this supposed to already been catered for. Why are we still talking about adding more money onto the bill? Why are we not able to efficiently spend monies and have the impact for the betterment of the people at Trinidad and Tobago, being proactive enough in having a figure in place and systems in place to pacify a situation more for a long term than simply putting a plaster on the wound for the now? I mean, again, it is example after example, time and time again, of the failed leadership that we have. And this administration is taking us down a dismal, dark, dangerous road as a nation. And we must have our voices heard. We must indicate to them that we are not stupid and we are not blind, and we are seeing right through all of the facade and show that you want to put out to the public for them to put in the pipe to smoke. The point of the matter is exactly what the government is doing is all missteps. And we are highlighting this, we are indicating this. Nothing adds up. There's no proper accountability. Why are you adding more money onto that? And why it is our citizens outside the shores of Trinidad and Tobago had to beg to come back home, who are nationals here, where our priorities should ensure that we put systems in place, whether it be to go to Barbados, you send a delegation to Barbados to ensure the protocol is on par as far as their quarantine period and space is concerned, where no contamination in the operating environment that they reside in, whatever country they are, and set a time and a date, whether you charter a flight or what the case might be, you get our citizens back home, get them back home, and you put them within a system here locally to ensure that they are not infected, they have not been contaminated in any way. And again, once that has been satisfied, dispense them off to their families and their respective areas in where they live. Simple thing. How much extra cost is that, and why it is we cannot even anticipate, knowing the number of people we have outside the shores and having to do that to begin with, to incorporate that in the amount of monies that we have to directly spend in pacifying that situation on our own. Why? Look, we had how many people down in Suriname bawling and crying. And had a group of people in Barbados up until recently that just recently came back to Trinidad also crying to come home. People in I mean, really, man, really. Again, the government has not taken proper steps and initiatives dealing with this situation. And from day one, since January or whenever we had actually placed the restriction here in Trinidad and Tobago, our leaders were supposed to be talking to other leaders around the world. Wherever Trinidad and Tobagonians reside, whether they are there as residents, whether they were there on vacation, the point is restriction of movement has been put in place. And if our national to stay wherever they are, particularly where quarantining is concerned. We were supposed to have diplomatic talks with different countries to ensure that they were able, if they had overstayed their time, for them to get an extension straight off the bat via government to government, making that initiative and arrangement for our citizens. Is we don't want them to stay there. The point is that we just need to ensure that they are quarantined and certain steps and measures are taken before they come back home. And that is all it was. And we were supposed to have systems and a budget in place in order to pacify that from day one, from the get-go. Not talk about now, oh, now we had to look to add more money and all of this. It should have been catered for before. Again, no proactive measures by the state of the day, the government of the day. Total failure, total failure, total failure. And it's sickening to be seeing what is transpiring every day on the news, every conference that these people have. It is absolutely sickening to know that this is the leadership that we have for Trinidad and Tobago. Man, if that is the case, we fail. Boys, I'm sorry for we, you know. Really, you know, I sorry for Trinidad and Tobago, boy. This is the best that we could produce as leaders in this country. Really.
I want to remind the public, because I just got a few calls. I know people close to 9, they get very excited to call in on the program. This entire week, we have devoted it for small business owners, whether you're a business owner, entrepreneur, you're self-employed, you just started up your business. We are asking you to call in and let us know how you have been impacted by COVID-19. How has your business been impacted by COVID-19? What support and relief you have gotten as part of this COVID-19 social relief grants and salary relief grants that we are spending close to $1 billion on, or projected to spend $1 billion, and we haven't even touched on the $442 million loan for Caribbean Airlines. And before anybody makes any comment, this is our national airline, and I absolutely completely believe that they deserve a bailout during this time. Yesterday we had a caller call in and say, you know, he asked the question, what is the government supposed to do for small business people who can't pay their rent at this time? I said the same thing that we did for CLICO, and now I'll add the same thing that we did for Caribbean Airlines, because our Minister of Finance, I think he added the cherry on top to the chuckle that he made when he said, I raised gas 3 times and they ain't riot yet. And remember that obnoxious little chuckle that he made? He yesterday he said, and I would never forget this, that he said some people are asking for a waive, for them to waive taxes and utilities, and he said that is unreasonable at this time. And for the people who know that they can't afford to pay their rent, who know that they cannot afford to pay their utilities, this is an absolutely damning truth for them, that after hearing this entire spend for COVID-19, that their needs, their concerns, their worries as tax-paying citizens are unreasonable, according to the Minister of Finance. I don't want to stick too long on that. I want to discuss it when we save it for when we come back from the break. We're going to take a quick break and come back. We will recognize all of the people celebrating birthdays. I think we just have one celebrating with us today. We're supposed to have a call with Pep Toronto a little bit later. When we come back, as much as we're continuing the discussion, we're also opening the lines for people to call in and talk your talk. Let us know what you think about this discussion. If you're a small business owner, please free to call in and use this platform. We will listen to you and help you promote your business at this time, as well as we will be here to discuss how you are being impacted. We'll be back after this short break.
Antel is Trinidad's most reliable and technically experienced ICT company, providers of quality structured cabling, Cat6 data fiber and power cables. We also stock cabling infrastructure basket-type cable trays for server rooms and data centers. Antel also installs and maintains video security systems, including cameras, alarms, and electronic entrance locks for businesses and residential properties. Call Antel 674-1406 or 783-9250.
Human rights and civil liberties are the cornerstone of democracy. It is no stretch to say in Trinidad and Tobago our justice system has challenged that notion. We have people in this country languishing in prison for years, sometimes decades more than they would have been if they had already been convicted of the offense and given the maximum sentence the law allows. They are citizens of this country walking around with the anxiety of charges over their heads, again for years and for decades. We've been told justice delayed is justice denied. The Progressive Empowerment Party advocates for a speedy justice statute that gives the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, the Director of Public Prosecutions and the courts responsibility for returning human rights and civil liberties to our justice system. We suggest that 24 hours from arrest to charge. We believe that an arrest should not be part of the investigation process and that police should have enough sufficient evidence to warrant the removal of someone's liberty before they arrest them. The Progressive Empowerment Party believes, like most first world countries, that if you have sufficient evidence to deny someone their essential liberty, then you should already be well on your way to proffering a charge. If you cannot charge within 24 hours, you should be made to release. In certain cases where there are extremes, officers of the law should be allowed to apply to judges in chambers for an extension up to 72 hours. Officers that abuse the privilege or who arrest needlessly that never becomes a charge should lose the privilege. Human rights and civil liberties are a cornerstone of our democracy. A speedy justice statute states 24 hours from arrest to charge or release, 6 months from charge to begin prosecution or release, 5 years for criminal matters in court, 3 years for civil matters, or the case collapses. The judges have a responsibility to case manage and not have our cases wandering on aimlessly for years and decades. We need to bring justice back to our justice system. Human rights and civil liberties are cornerstones of a democracy, and the Progressive Empowerment Party advocates for a speedy justice statute that leaves none of our people victimized by a justice system that is blaming incompetence on a backlog as a reason for more incompetence and a backlog. If we cannot arrest and charge based on evidence, do not arrest and charge. If we cannot mount a case within 6 months of the arrest, do not attempt to prosecute. And if we cannot case manage a criminal matter in 5 years, we shouldn't be sitting in judgment of anybody. It is time that this country functioned as a first world nation. It is time that we used our abilities and our knowledge and the assets available to us to create a developed nation out of whatever this is. I am Philip Edward Alexander. This has been 3 minutes to a better TNT.
We're back, and the lines are open if you would like to call in now and talk your talk. Have your say. A caller just called in. I told him, please call me back after the break, and this is your chance to talk if you would like to. But Anthony and I are going to continue the discussion until we hear that beep beep of your call. So we mentioned before we went to the break that $442 million loan that was given or is being allocated for Caribbean Airlines, which, I mean, any country that has a national airline that is being impacted by this, of course, you're going to want to keep that afloat. Caribbean Airline is making money for the country, I believe, or one would like to believe. And, you know, the fact that the government is putting out, giving them almost $500 million to compensate for the downtime that they, as well as the other, let me finish, they as well as the other airlines across the world are experiencing. And I did do my research. There are other national airlines that are being bailed out, even non-national airlines that are being supported because it is the belief that post COVID-19, the airspace will open up again, travel will become something crucial again, and we don't want to have your national airlines fall apart. Let me just take this call this morning. Hello, good morning. You're live on Pep Talk in the morning. Hello. Hi, good morning.
Yeah, good
Okay, you
morning.
need to caller, you need to take off the device that you're listening to me on and listen to me on the phone. There's a delay and
Okay.
you won't be able to follow the conversation. You there? Hello? So, caller, when you call me back if you when you're ready to talk. But for anybody calling in, please, there will be a delay in between the time that you and I are speaking on the phone versus what you hear on whatever device that you're listening to me on. So follow the convo on the telephone call, on the WhatsApp call if you're calling via WhatsApp, and not on the device that you are watching the program on. That is just to avoid the delay that is naturally there when you try to broadcast any kind of calls online. I think this is this caller calling back. Hello, good morning.
Hello? Yeah, hello. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Yeah, I'm hearing you. Are you hearing me?
Yes, I'm hearing you.
Yeah. My call is to do with regards to the COVID-19 and the people who are vulnerable in respect to employment. I'm going to say to those who are employed and the businesses that they are employed in were closed down and they have now been reopened. And there seems to be a situation where those people are now being even in a more vulnerable situation. And I try to be guided with regards to how I couch this so that those individuals may not be persecuted as to their job
Caller,
being
hold on
taken.
1 second for me. Anthony, can I ask you to mute the phone, mute your device on your side because the chickens on your side seem to want to compete with our caller. All right, just yes, caller, you can continue.
Yes. You hear me now? Because I'm not hearing, I am not, my phone is down very low.
Yes, I'm hearing you. If you can raise the volume
Right.
on your end.
Raise it yourself?
If you want to, yes. If you want to hear me better, raise the volume on your end.
Yeah,
But I am
I'm hearing you. I'm hearing you clearly. I'm
okay.
hearing you
I'm hearing.
clearly.
We're hearing you clear as
Yeah.
well.
Okay. And one of the things is that it seems that there are certain measures being put in place by businesses and um, you know, food businesses, whereby workers are being given uh, different types of employment or job employment, where the hours of it are longer, so their workload are longer, but the payments are short, are cut. And yeah, so while they are working for, let's just say, for 10 hours, they are being paid for 6 hours. You can investigate that and really, like, I don't want to talk much on it. If I could, I'll call you to give you a clear idea. But I just wanted to bring the topic up because it is something that obviously workers would be afraid for these things to come out and so that they wouldn't want to be identified as the person who spoke on this. So they have to be mindful of that also because they are also on the dictates of those employers because their job is that's their livelihood obviously. So I don't know if I was clear enough in just trying to synthesize the situation.
Yes, you were very clear. And if you want, I would answer what you raised off air. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so there are others, but I think if I use the others, then it may be identifiable to the company or companies that is doing it.
Understandably. Thank you very much for calling in and raising
Oh,
this
okay,
concern with us.
okay.
All right. So, for those who heard, those who did not hear, he was basically raising the issue of companies, a company he does not want to call the name of for fear of them victimizing the workers even further. But it's food establishments that have called workers back out to work, and they're working the same amount of hours or longer hours and getting paid for less hours now during this COVID-19, everything that is happening, and this is actually tabled to discuss today. South businesses in South food establishments in South. I actually know one of our members here in the Progressive Empowerment Party. He has a restaurant as well. He told me that work was slow on the first day of reopening, and we pointed out the issue of KFC being one of those restaurants that we thought there was going to be a mass stampede for, and there was barely a trickle in terms of the customers patronizing that establishment on Monday and even yesterday. And I think it is to be expected right now that people are not going to have the disposable income that they had before. They may not have the luxury of going out and dining or purchasing expensive foods as they would used to. And as of right now, we can't expect that profits for companies, even in the food industry, are going to be a fraction of what they would have been in the past. However, that does not mean that it can be used as an excuse to rob workers of the fair compensation that they deserve. And if you know that your establishment is not making the money that you would have made prior to COVID-19, unless it is a discussion with the employee beforehand where there's an agreement that you're coming back to work, but you're working for fewer wages. Unless it's an agreement, then that is what you basically call slave labor in essence, paying people nowhere near what they are supposed to be making. Somebody actually called me yesterday and raised the issue of her working in a company, and I hope she's listening to me because I did do the call on your behalf. What she's asking me is that she's getting paid less money for the work that she would have been doing before. However, because she's making less money, she needs assistance in terms of getting money to pay her landlord. And in order to do that, she is wondering whether she would qualify to get assistance, seeing as she's still receiving a salary with less money than she would have been receiving before. I did call the Ministry of Social Development on your behalf. If I did not get onto them yesterday, I actually had it carded to do today on the program, but I did speak to them on your behalf. And they said that yes, you are entitled to compensation once your salary has been impacted in any way, if it's been reduced. I cannot say, however, how long the process is going to take. I have not heard to date of anybody actually receiving that rental assistance. And we know just under 3,000 people to date has received salary assistance. So the most that I can tell you is visit the website, the iGovTT website, TT Connect website, and try to fill out the forms if you need my help. And this is to that particular caller. I would be happy to try and walk you through it. I myself am trying to familiarize myself with it because many people are reaching out to me, asking me the questions that I guess they are not getting answered through the ministries themselves. But the reason I raised that issue of that particular lady, Anthony, and to the viewers of the program, that in her case, she was not able to get that her bosses were not willing to sign the form saying that she was making less money than she was working for. And that is something that we have to be very careful about during this time. It will be very easy to take advantage of people during a time where you're desperate to make any kind of money at all. And that is how indentured laborship came about. That is how slavery and post-slavery labor came about, where they understand that people need to make a living, and it was a perfect time to basically take advantage of their situation, and it's something that we have to be very aware of. If you are a major establishment in the food industry, if you're a major establishment that you know you're not making the kind of money you are making before, please hire fewer workers if that's the case. But don't hire people and pay them way below what you know they're supposed to be paying unless it is an agreement with you and your workers beforehand, because that is not fair to them to be doing that amount of work and to be hearing at the end of it that we're only going to pay you this amount. And it, in that case, give them the option of trying to maybe find employment elsewhere if they can, or again, being a part of the conversation from upfront where they are agreeing for a period, like Digicel did with their employees. We are agreeing to take a salary cut for a specific period of time, but do not use it as the opportunity to take advantage. Anthony, what are your thoughts on that? Anthony?
Are you
Anthony
hearing me?
seems to be fruit. Yes, I'm hearing you now.
All right, yeah, internet as usual, great service. But I would like to just touch on what you had mentioned before, pertaining towards Caribbean Airlines with the bailout. Now, again, yes, and I would agree with you, it is our national airline and it is our responsibility to ensure the survivability of such. But my take is this: had the government have a proper system to roll out for this COVID-19, had they had all the information and had they been proactive enough? Again, the Prime Minister said to the population, close your businesses, don't go to work. We have to quarantine ourselves. We have to quarantine the nation. Now, if that's the case, and no one is able to acquire money and make money, conduct business and go to work and all that good stuff, and they are all segregated now in their own homes by force, by the mandate of the state, is that's what we had to do. Again, it was the Prime Minister's responsibility to have a special conference of sorts or talks of sorts with the business community, both public and private, because you have to insist that no one is paying any bills, no utilities, no mortgages, no payments of anything of this sort. So, for example, Caribbean Airlines, if you had, okay, we are not flying, the airline is grounded, all right, we are in a situation that is not something we created ourselves. This is something that was imposed upon us from a global pandemic. And with that knowledge, we need to know which sectors and which areas can take somewhat of a hit and which areas we can somewhat bubble and try to assist. Now, Caribbean Airlines in itself, again, if you were to freeze the economy and whatever debt that Caribbean Airline has, is a matter of having a line of communication with those entities, ensuring that those payments may be frozen in for a particular period of time. Work out whatever arrangements that you have to. And again, having the entire population, which would include the employees of CAL, again, you have systems in place to pacify them at home. No one is collecting a salary. Nobody's supposed to be collecting a salary. If everybody home, the most important thing that you have to ensure is that every household have food to feed their families that is quarantined in their homes. End of story. Because if anybody have any need for money to begin with in this time right now, it's all about being able to go and purchase food items for your family to survive in this time of need. So when you look at that, yes, you have people in the population that may have a 5, 10, 20,000, 100,000, whatever amount that they may have in the bank. Okay, all well and good. They can probably survive on that. But again, you have a large portion of the population that is actually living day to day, week to week, month to month, that don't have a cash pot of money hide away somewhere in a bank or under the bed or anything like that. And even the ones that you would see, and we mentioned this many, many times before, again, on many other shows, people you seen with a nice car, nice house, and all of that. Don't be fooled, Trinidad and Tobago. These are people, the banks own these things, you know. The bank own them house, the bank own those cars that you see the
Yeah.
flamming in. So, again, the bottom line is for our leader, the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, not to be aware of the true environment that his citizens are in. The same citizens that he himself have to work for and have critical information on, in knowing what decisions need to be made in moving our country forward, in protecting the citizenry as a whole, whether it be health-wise, which the initiation for that was to quarantine ourselves and to avoid contact and spread of the coronavirus, as well as the economic impact that is going to have on society, on the citizens, on the nation as a whole, and putting proper protocols in place in order to safeguard that. That is where the monies that the government was supposed to be talking about was supposed to be going towards the utility companies that is owned by the state, having talks with the banking sector for they themselves to freeze payments by their clients for mortgages, car payments, loans, and so on. And this is something that was supposed to take place for across the board for both private and public sector. It is not rocket science, and you cannot say none of this is impossible, because at the end of the day, having lines of communication and refabricating things, if laws have to be amended and changed and so on, let it be for the betterment of the nation as a whole. That is the whole point of you being a leader to begin with, being proactive and having outside of the box ideas in trying to safeguard the same population that you have been catapulted to do. Again, you didn't put on a suit and just walk in the parliament. It's the greater population that put you there. And as a man in government now, being the government of Trinidad and Tobago, your representation is for red, white, and black, which is every single citizen on the ground in Trinidad and Tobago. Whether you are a worker publicly or privately, whether you're a business owner, whether you are part of the state, it does not matter. You are a citizen across the board. And the betterment was supposed to be sought in that sense, not trying to safeguard your 1% friends and financiers, making sure who have inside information to open the business or who could be implemented within the essential services arm of the state or society, where they can ensure that they can still have a piece of money come in, and all of these underhanded things taking place. Man, Trinidad, look, the place is going crazy, and we having the proof in front of our faces. These people who are calling themselves leaders is showing us blatantly that they are doing what the heck they want to do, and there's no one that they are able to have to answer to. So what is the position that we are in at this point in time? The only person that entered, or the only entity truly right now in our present environment that is putting the flame under the feet of the government is the Progressive Empowerment Party. We are the ones asking the questions. Even the opposition coming and bringing things in parliament, talking about sanctions and the situation between America and Trinidad with Venezuela. It is the Progressive Empowerment Party that brought that and started that narrative into the public space even before the UNC even mentioned or utter any words within that parliament pertaining towards the sanctions that we may be possibly facing through the United States because of our behavior conducting business with Venezuela at this point in time, who is presently under damn sanctions by the United States. So what it is we saying, we letting people into the country, the vice president and a whole entourage, all of them being sanctioned by the United States. So we don't give a damn about any one of our partners then. We don't give a damn about any of the people that we are rubbing shoulders with, or people that, or entities or countries that we have to have some level of proper dialogue and diplomacy with and partnering with. We just don't give a damn. We want to do what the hell it is we want to do. But what I am saying is that the people are not happy for that. We are not happy of the environment and emotions that the government is taking. And forget about you being PNM as the government. You are the government of Trinidad and Tobago and need to seek the interests of the whole. Not just a portion, not just a few, and not just selected people within society. It is the entire nation you need to actually seek the interest for. End of story. And to date, it is not the case. We are having the discussions. We are seeing where the missteps are being taken. We are seeing where they are trying to misdirect the population and putting false information out there to pacify us. Point is that the nation is woke right now, Mr. Prime Minister. and you have a progressive empowerment party in this history and time of Trinidad and Tobago, a entity, a political vehicle with critical minds, with forward thinkers, with progressive policies, ideas, and protocols. We see right through you. Government of Trinidad and Tobago, please, you need to answer to the people. End of story. I'll go leave it there for now, Felicia.
A comment on the live from Indarjit Mohan Singh. As you know, I try to read some of the comments during the program. How did we spend so much money and medical staff still do not have adequate PPE? In fact, many medical staff had to buy their own personal protective equipment,
Yeah.
but close to 1 billion was spent. Actually, in that allocation for COVID-19, the $934 million, $5 million of that was allocated for face masks. And I have to raise that because on Monday someone called in. I don't know if you remember, Monday someone called in the program. Yes, Jamon, Scott, we have a Twitter page. Search for @PepTrimBago. All of our Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube and Facebook handles is @PepTrimBago. You can follow us there as well. We don't update Twitter as often, but we do have a page. Anyway, back to what I was saying. Someone
Hold
called
on.
in on Monday and said,
I just want to say this. If our government was so proactive, and if we have, as the corporate class and one percenters, as we like to call it, and for example, Boots are part of that, as we all know, we have people within that free that have cloth companies. It was not possible for the state to sit and talk to one of our local manufacturers here in Trinidad and Tobago and to be able to create or fabricate a mask that is comparable, if not the same, if not possibly even better than the N95 mask for us to distribute right here on the ground in Trinidad and Tobago. We couldn't create an environment like that. We could not take a financial hit where that is concerned and pacifying the population and ensuring all
well,
of our public sector workers are protected in that sense. We're
I did the
buying these things from
mathematics.
outside.
No, we're supposed to actually be employing the people. Well, this is what I am trying to raise right now in this comment that I'm making. Someone called on the show on Monday. I don't know if you recall. She said that, or was it a he? He called and said that they had taken um the seamstresses and they had provided the samples of the masks for the government and have yet to hear back from them in terms of actually being given the job to do this. I'm going to assume that this is the $5 million that we have allocated for the distribution of free face masks. Masks are selling for about $30 for a mask. Let's assume that they are purchasing the mask at half or a fraction or a third or 50%, which is half, the cost of $30. We are going to assume that they can distribute well over 300,000 masks for the population. Has that been done? Is that happening? Is that a mask that I received from my local government council? And then if that's the case, why are we getting these things in P&M packaged bags? What isn't this a spend of the government? I need to know. I need to know because it's not enough to tell me $5 million was spent on face masks and not tell me who was the supplier, how was it distributed to the communities, when would they be distributed to the communities. So I await the further accounting and breakdown of that from our Minister of Finance, who loves to throw figures around but not tell us where and how and why it was being spent. Don't forget the lines are open for your call, 769-4590 to call in and talk your talk. Circling back to that issue of on Caribbean Airlines and the point that I keep trying to make and not getting to finish, completely in favor of the government assisting, also in favor of them assisting our regular citizens here on the ground too. Tenants should not have to be worried about paying $35,000 in rent for stores that have not seen customers since February. That is beyond unfair. And I want to talk about this issue where he said that it is unreasonable to ask for a waiver of taxes and utilities at this time when So many things I want to talk about in relation to this. He actually mentioned something that raised a whole other question, which is that it is unreasonable to ask for a waiver of these utilities when, according to him, WASA is running at a deficit of $200 million a month. It is costing the
Why?
state on average $2 billion a year is being spent to fund the deficit that is created by the Water and Sewerage Authority. And I do not, for the life of me, understand why it is costing us, money, why we are running at a deficit for something that we don't even get. Water.
Deja vu. This is deja vu, Felicia, because it's the exact same thing that was done with Petrotrin. They had to insist on showing Petrotrin making a loss, and then out of the blue, all of a sudden, you need to sell out the assets and privatize the damn company. It's the same agenda that they want to have for WASA. Same thing they want to have possibly for TNTech at some point. And well, TSCT is going through its motions at the moment. I mean, again, who is talking to the population in letting us know that you are selling our assets? What is the benefit we, the people, are actually going to gain from this? And why is it that the entities that are under the state, why are they not profitable? Why are they not profitable? It is a simple infrastructure. It is a simple delivery system. It is a simple administrative issue. Sort it out and allow the companies to make a profit. Why is it? Why
Anthony,
is
they
it?
are going
No,
to say, I am already anticipating them saying that it's because customers are not paying their bills, and I'm waiting for that. But then, and we talk about this a lot on the show. Is it a chicken and egg situation? Am I not paying my bill because I don't get water? Which may very well be the case. It is unfair to ask citizens to pay a water and sewage bill when you do not even get water in your pipe. And
very
if
true.
it is costing us to run our water network system throughout this entire country. Are we looking at where we might be losing money? I passed the road when it was 2 days ago, Sunday in Debe, coming out of Debe, and springing up from under the road is fresh water, and I'm thinking, where, where is are the people to come and repair this leak? You're talking about us being in a period of drought right now, which I cannot understand because I listened to Seguni on the news last night forecast a next 6 months of flood. We're going through 6 months of drought, and for the life of me, I do not understand why during the flood we can't capture and hold that water so that during the period of drought we have water to use. I absolutely cannot understand how it is so hard for us to catch water, hold it, store it, and distribute it. I cannot understand why anywhere in Trinidad and Tobago you can drive right now and see leaks springing up all over the place. Why it is taking so long to fix it. We understand that we have prehistoric dinosaur pipes that we can't yet fix. We understand that we're running at a budget at a deficit. We have to subsidize the Water and Sewerage Authority. How have we not yet found a Minister of Public Utilities? How we have not yet found a Minister of Finance who can figure out how to make WASA profitable, how to make sure that we are not spending scarce resources into propping up a company, a publicly owned company that is losing $2 billion a year. How Jesus Christ, this show, it sometimes asks more questions than we can even begin to answer, but it's unbelievable to me, Anthony. And I could not believe that he delivered that news with such a straight face that we're spending $200 million a year in subsidizing WASA. I could not believe that he had the gall to say that. And then, like you say, is he going to come 6 months down the line and say, after we have spent so much money in WASA, it's now time to sell it to some privately owned company from China to run? Is that going to be the case? for us.
And where's the
I
opposition in
don't
all of
know.
this? Where's the opposition in all of this? Why are they
What
not
can the
holding the
opposition say?
government?
It was running and was running at a loss under them too. What can they say? They won't point out something that they themselves are guilty of.
Point well taken. Point well taken. You are absolutely correct. And Trinidad and Tobago, again, we are presenting the examples in front of you, in your face, the factual information that is there for you to try to understand and pick sense some nonsense, Because again, the people that we want to run down red and ready, yellow and steady, they are not seeking the interest of the people as a whole. And we must wrap our heads around that fact and ensure we are able to put entities and people in place that is able to seek the interests of the whole of the entire country. Plain and simple. I say, I hear you have a call there, Felicia.
Yeah, let's take this call. Hello, you are live on Pep Talks in the morning. Welcome.
Hi, good morning, Felicia. Good morning, Anthony.
Morning.
Morning.
Hi. Here's the thing, right? First of all, you see the middle class business owners are paying for them most, are really paying for them most because how it is that big businesses get included and the middle class businesses still are closed right now. Anybody could give an answer?
You're asking, like I said just now on this program seems to raise more questions than answers because the answers don't reside in the people who raise any questions. They reside with the people who are responsible for bringing solutions, who we have seen lack the political will, courage, or determination to bring questions like these to the forefront and present real solutions that can benefit the entire population. I, just like you, I have to point out the almost insidious and deliberate destruction of the middle class that seems to be going on right now. I mean, we're bailing out at the top levels, top corporations that you, for some people would say, would expect should have a cushion of their own after boasting billions in profits, after boasting exorbitant prices and interest rates. We're looking at assisting them, whereas, and at the bottom, the lowest rungs, we're saying that we're giving food hampers, yet the millions in loans that we're supposed to release for the small businesses to stay afloat, it's still being hindered and hampered by paperwork, and still a promise that we're hearing 8 weeks into a pandemic that we said would force medium and small business owners to forfeit their income for the 2 months that they have been staying at home.
Yeah, then it's talking, and no action at all. And by the way, out of all the press conferences from the government, I think Monday's press conference was used, I don't know if you watch it, but it was used. The way Siotian was stopping and
The one where Rowdy was stuttering for the right answer.
yeah, the one where you was stopping and
Yeah.
dancing and wiggling round the HQ at the vice president. Yeah, I never see a man sweat swim alike.
I hope you answer the question, the poll question on the live video. If you haven't yet, go answer that question. We want to hear from you whether you believe that the Venezuelan delegation came here to discuss COVID-19 or not. Yes or no?
Actually, I saw it as I came in live and I said no because what is there to discuss if it's not an emergency? If it's an urgent health emergency, I thought it could is video call and so. You need a whole 2 plane just land to talk about it.
And a whole 2 planes that contain nobody from the Ministry of Health from Venezuela, nobody who is an epidemiologist, nobody
Exactly.
who is versed in any talks or any anything to do with health or dealing with an economic crisis that that COVID-19 would have placed on the world. Thank you very much for calling in. At this point, please stick around and for the results of that poll at the end of the program.
All right then.
Thank you.
He said
I
it.
mean, it gives me great hope that we have so many intelligent people that call into this program that ask the questions. I mean, as much as sometimes it feels like we're raising more questions than we have answers to, the more people that asking these questions, the more people demanding. I love that we did not use the 9-day memory that we're known to have on this issue with the Venezuelan vice president coming to visit our shores. I love that citizens are continuing to ask the question, what were they really here to discuss? Because many don't believe that it was COVID-19. I love the fact that we're asking for accountability for almost $1 billion spent so far, that many of us are looking around wondering, where did it go to? Was it the soap and hand sanitizer that some of us were lucky to get from our local government councils? I would like to think not, seeing as food and actual income is what people need at this point in time. Anthony, you were going to say something.
Well, again, the caller just he said it. The middle class, middle-sized business people, small businessmen, they are the ones that's going to take the actual hit. And we are shaking the foundation of Trinidad and Tobago for that to actually happen, because the ripple effect that is about to take place again. You have many countries that companies that's going to be downsizing, and all of that is in the effort to try to save their company on a whole, simply because they don't have the financing, they don't have any circulation of cash. The Prime Minister said, close your business, tell the employees and people across the board, all the citizens, stay home. But yet still not putting things in place proactively to try to pacify a situation. If you don't want to spend the cash money and distributing across the nation, ensure that you can distribute food to every household in the nation. Don't look at who have what in the pocket or what is in the bank account. You cater as the government to have concessions in place to pacify the whole nation, every single home on the ground. You want to freeze the economy? Freeze it. Let the economic hit take place where utility companies owned by the state is concerned, and anybody or any entity that is outside of the state, for government to sit down with these entities and have really serious discussions as to how we can safeguard the population, the business sector, especially where payments are concerned for mortgages, car payments, or loans, or what have you. The point is that there's no circulation of money running through the system. The state is the one that brought that into reality. So how the state could act ignorant enough to say, as finance minister, oh, he does not see it necessary to freeze billing and so
It is
on, and utilities.
unreasonable.
It's unreasonable.
I will
That
never
is
forget that word.
insanity. That is
It is unreasonable to expect people to pay rent when they can't afford to pay rent. And the fact that he went on to say that during this pandemic we have the resources that are adequate to deal with the pandemic and rebuild the economy. He's obviously
lies.
nowhere thinking about the middle class. I want to prepare to bring Mr. Gaj Ramlal onto the program right now. Gaj is from Toronto and he is joining us for the last 15 minutes of this discussion. Tomorrow we'll be joined by Denise Zavi from the New York team. As soon as you're ready to bring Gaj on and into the discussion, Mr. Producer, please dispatch him in. Gaj Ramlal, good morning.
Morning, Gaj.
I am not hearing. I'm not sure if your microphone is on mute. He
Hello.
seems to be frozen. Hi, Gaj, we're
Yes.
hearing you.
Hi, hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, we're hearing you loud and clear.
Hi, good morning. Sorry about that. Not sure what the technical difficulty is there.
Don't worry, we
Morning,
are
morning.
most accustomed to that here on this program right now. Thank you for joining us on Pep Talks in the morning. Mr. Anthony Sinana, the head of the Toronto chapter, has been insisting that we get you on the program, and I am very happy that you can join us representing the Pep Canada team today. Many of our viewers people, I was explaining this earlier in the show, they are based overseas, and they do want to know, what and how they can get involved with the PEP Toronto chapter, PEP Canada chapter, if they are involved. Sorry, if they can become involved in it. Let me know. Can you tell them what is it? What is it like being a part of the PEP Canada chapter? How did you
Well,
even
I
get
think
involved in PEP Canada?
Well, the first thing is, when you listen to Philip and get a good appreciation for all the issues facing the country, we're all motivated to join. This is, very unselfish of us. For people who have left Trinidad, it's an opportunity to give back, but you want to be able to give back to a program or a cause or, that you feel will benefit the people. And understanding and listening to Philip, we see the passion and sort of like, the drive to make sure that, he makes a difference in society. He helps people, we've seen the background, and that's a cause that I was willing to sign up for. So I got in touch with Philip, and he sort of put me on to Anthony and Joan, and we got started. Now, our program and what we do in Toronto, it's from the heart, and it's really all based on our ability to help, to contribute to Trinidad and Tobago and to PEP, whether it's in a financial support role or whether it's providing ideas and sort of resourcing, intellectual resourcing to enable, the people to make a difference. And really, it's very unselfish of us. We seek nothing, but I think we're all at a point where we feel that we can contribute to society, and we're very open to do that. Very easy to join us here. Like us on our PEP Toronto page on Facebook. We're always looking for help. We're always looking for ideas. One of our big mission and goal is to not only provide, where we can help to the party, but to contribute financially as well. And we do have, like any organization, you would appreciate when you're not looking for the big financiers who you obviously have to return the favor to. This is all grassroots. This is all built by the people for the people. We do need all the help we can get. And, if you want to contribute to PEP Toronto, it's very easy. Just do an e-transfer to PEP Toronto 2018 at gmail.com. So, not that we're only about the money, but we bring people together. We've had like numerous events that we sort of tap into our various communities. I mean, our group is spread very far, east to west of Toronto. It is way over, think about 100-mile diameter. So, and that's just our local group. So, you can think of it as local, but it's a pretty wide geography. And we're all passionate about the cause. We're all passionate to contribute. And, we try to create events where we can actually make a difference. So we're hoping that, we are in fact helping with a bigger cause, and that if there's anything that we can do, we'd be more than happy to jump in.
God, I think one of the strengths of the PEP Toronto team, and I see it even from being so far from you guys, I see it online, and it's mirrored here in Trinidad as well, is the family relation that you guys seem to have built. Every time I see you guys posting online, there seems to be not a clique, but a understanding between you guys. I know people, most of you all would have been strangers prior to joining the Progressive Empowerment Party, prior to being a part of the Toronto movement. But it's almost as if the PEP creates this informal, unofficial family amongst a group of people that makes you feel like you've known them for years at a time. And it's something that I see happening, and I have to commend it with your group. I saw Gary Felix would have celebrated his birthday last week, Saturday, and the comments on the thread, from you guys, it seemed like as if y'all were friends and family for a really long time. And it's something I have to applaud of your team and of your chapter there in Toronto.
So, behind that, as I said, we've come together for a common cause. We're all heart. And I think when you have people coming together like that, no selfish interest, no financial gains, like we're not about that. We're about, hey, we're here for each other. If we can help each other out, we can do that. We want to grow our base as best as we can, and we want to have like-minded individuals together. And the common cause for us, it's really, I would say it's a noble one. We know it's an uphill battle. nobody thinks it's easy to make change in a country like Trinidad. But what we can say is that we want to do our best. And in order to do our best, we need to get everybody to contribute. And people can contribute in whatever capacity they can. You know, Gary, he's such a nice guy. I've only known Gary for a couple months actually, but if you see us when we come together in our leadership meetings, you're right. It's like we've known each other for 20 years. But that's just how we are. You all know Trinidadians are friendly people. If you take away all of this selfishness attributes from them, they are very nice people. And I think our group here, we're a very genuine group. We're in it for what we signed up for. We're in it for a good cause. We feel strongly and passionate about the cause. No gains for us. We're living here. We're all away. We're all in the Toronto area. Do we have to go back to Trinidad? It would be nice. Do we want to see that place better? It's our homeland. Of course, we want to see that place thrive. I've traveled to many countries, and so too have a lot of people who live here. And when you see what those countries look like, and you look at what all the resources available to Trinidad, you have to scratch your head and wonder, why is it so bad? You're 1.3 million people. It's not a lot, right? You're just over 1,000 square miles. Come on. You're blessed, really and truly. When you go to countries and you see the lack of resources, pretty much Trinidad has everything. Good people capital, intelligent people, natural resources. Come on, is it just a lack of leadership over the last, call it 60 years that have totally crashed something that could be gold? And then the other piece is people don't know what they have, right? And when we look in and see what that country has to offer, it just befundles us that, hey, if we can come together and help fix this, and hey, there's a cause in the country that seems to be gathering a lot of interest and brilliant ideas, and it's new and refreshing. Of course, we can sign up, because the end point, it's a better country. It's a better country for the people there. It's also a better country for us. I would be more than happy to snowbird in Trinidad for a couple months when this place gets full, right? As an option. And you know what? That can drive a totally different economy as well. Think about if it's just me, my family, my friends, all of a sudden you have an expat community that can come in. And that's sort of like an economic engine on its own, right? So while we're doing this for the people and we're trying to get together and contribute what we can, a part of us is wanting to see this place great again so that we can come in and enjoy it as well.
Thank you for that, Gad. And I have to say, this movement, it would be nothing, absolutely nothing, without our overseas chapters. What you guys do in Toronto, I mean, what started as an idea with Barrel Sale has now taken over and eclipsed and become a major fundraising standalone activity on its own. I mean, watching the coordination between Toronto and New York and Florida and us here in Trinidad, in terms, we are basically our own little shop and ship company offering really good, amazing prices to people in Trinidad who have to face our groceries, where you're paying way exorbitant prices as compared to what you can get if you're living abroad. And the fact that we are able to do an initiative like this with the help of our overseas teams, as well as raise money for the party in a legal, legitimate, not beholden to 1% finances way, as well as benefit citizens by offering them reasonable, discounted prices on food and household items. I think if it's one thing that I appreciate and would continuously big up as part of the being the head of finance and watching this initiative grow, is that that whole Barrel Sale and Pep Market initiative that you guys have worked with us to collaborate on. And I thank you so much for all of the hard work of you and your team. Anything you'd like to say in closing? Anthony, before that, do you have any questions for Gaj as part of the Toronto chapter?
No, I just, again, they are doing an absolute phenomenal job. And yes, you're absolutely correct with everything that you've said pertaining towards our overseas chapters. They are somewhat of a backbone for the Progressive Empowerment Party right now, especially financially. Again, we need the support. We don't want to be held by any deep pocket financiers. We want to be held accountable by the people. Let us owe them, the people of Trinidad and Tobago, both on the shore here in Trinidad as well as the ones that's offshore. Because we do want to create an environment for all citizens, children of the soil, to be able to come back home to a country of hope and opportunity, safety, healthcare, education, everything above board, top of the line, first world, and possibly even better than what first world countries presently is offering citizens from around the world. I mean, the only reason why Mr. Ramlal is in Canada right now is because he was not able to find a level of hope and opportunity in Trinidad, and is why he decided to make that step outside in order to find that. I did the same thing more than 30 years ago. I left Trinidad and Tobago because I did not have hope and opportunity. I went to New York. I lived there 20 years of my life. And, due to seeing certain things happening on the ground there, I asked myself, why can't we have this here in Trinidad and Tobago? And like Mr. Ramlal said before, we've had the wealth of resources here. We've had the world of booms. We've had a sugar boom, a cocoa boom. We've had 2 oil booms, a gas boom. I mean, our citizens are supposed to be bathing in money. We are supposed to be making, like Philip says, Dubai blush because we are number one. And that's where we were supposed to be from day one. But again, we're not there. And like the old proverb goes, as the old saying goes, no time better to plant a tree than now. Forget about, yes, it was the best time to plant it 20 years ago, but the next best time is right now. And that's what we need to do, is to save the country and redevelop Trinidad and Tobago now with the environment that we are aware of and the outlook that we have for the future in creating systems, policies, and protocols across board for the redevelopment of Trinidad and Tobago to bring true hope and opportunity in the best capacity that we are able to provide for our citizens as a nation. End of story. Like Mr. Ramlal said, we have every bit of resource that we have to develop in Tobago right here. It's just simply to put the people in place, have political will, and ensure that the job is simply done. Accountability, transparency, and responsibility for one's portfolio being in office. End of story. And we can have the nation that we have been aspiring for almost the last 60 years. We've come out of an oppressive time from indentured laborship and slavery. Our leaders are grandchildren of that history, of that time. We supposed to now look towards our nation and developing it as no other nation on planet Earth. We supposed to have visas for people to come to Trinidad. That's just to tell you how sweet we were supposed to be. But instead, it's the other way around. But at the end of the day, I take my hat off to you, Mr. Ramlal, again, for the effort that you and the foreign teams have been presenting in order for us to truly make this a reality for Trinidad and Tobagonians, not just here, but as well as for yourselves that has resided outside of the shores of Trinidad and Tobago. And my hat is off to you. Much respect to each and every one of you out there. Thank you very much, sir.
And thank you, guys. I mean, we're happy to be part of this cause, and we will continue to contribute as much as we can when we can.
Thank you, guys. Anything you would like to remind the viewers of before you go, how they can contact the PEP Toronto team, how they can donate if they would like to the PEP Toronto team?
Absolutely. So we do have a Facebook page. It's PEP Toronto. If you need to reach out to anyone, myself, Joan, Anthony, regarding making more contribution, please just leave our contact information there. You can message us, and one of us will definitely get back to you. We meet, we can't meet these days, as you know, with the situation as it is. But as soon as we're free, we'll be calling again a bigger meeting with our group so that we can plan the rest of the year's activities, assuming that we will be free to do so. And we love to reach out to as many people as we can and get as many people involved as possible. We do, love the vision that the PEP has for the country. We do believe it's realistic and it's achievable. At the same time, we understand change is a difficult thing. And people do need to understand that if you want change to happen, it starts with, your head. It starts with your mind, and it starts with your willingness to want change. The rest becomes mechanics. And if we have the machinery in place, and I do believe we will have all the machinery in place within the PEP. You know, we have global resourcing, we have a very capable local team. I think we can achieve the change in a very meaningful way and improve the lives of everyone in Trinidad if we're given the chance. And I just want people to understand that for a bit, because if you can look back as much as you want, and if you project what you look back forward, you will be totally disappointed and frustrated. But if you think about a fresh breath of air, a fresh light, and change in the positive way that the PEP has sort of like developed the policies, and and would love to bring those to life. All of the ideas are brilliant ideas. They're very different to what we've seen in the past. That's what change is all about. And if you want change in a country, start thinking about change, start internalizing change, and start to become part of the change and this movement.
Well
I mean,
said.
we could end the program on that note because that was perfectly said. Gash, again, thank you so much for joining us. I will be having my other members of your PEP Toronto team in the upcoming weeks, but Anthony Sinananjon, the rest of the team, Lisa Gobin, who I see on the live, anybody else from Toronto, I can tell that you have a very robust team. Gaj did a great job representing you, and I hope to have more of you on. Gaj, please enjoy the rest of the day, and we will be in contact.
Thank you.
Good one.
Take care. All right, so we have reached the end of our program. I remember when we just started the show, and Philip said 2 hours from Monday to Friday. I was like, "Oh my God, what on earth am I going to discuss in 2 hours?" And now we have gotten to the
We didn't
point
have
where
enough time.
topics are tabled. Yeah, topics table to discuss. Satish asking me about breaks. I'm telling him only run one because I don't want to run out of time for calls and all of that. When you get into it, it's so much to talk about because clearly there's so much to discuss, so much to look at fixing in this country. We ran a poll at the beginning of the show that asked the question, do you believe the Venezuelan delegation came to discuss COVID-19? 4% of you said yes. Shame on you. And just kidding. 4% of you said yes. 96% of you said no, you do not believe they came to discuss COVID-19. I mean, let sense prevail. An entire delegation full of energy ministers came to discuss immigration and COVID-19. Come on. That is the end of our show today, people. Thank you so much for sticking with us. I mean, every day I do this show, I enjoy it. And today was no different. I will see you again tomorrow at 8 a.m. for another episode of Pep Talks in the Morning. Anthony, sorry, didn't get to give you a wrap up, but I will let you say bye bye to
Okay.
Trinidad and Tobago now. Yeah, bye.
Yes.
I'll see you tomorrow. Remember, let's stay together by staying apart. Bye bye. I think we're out.